Who would have thought that a 78-year-old lady would be here today, talking to you about a subject as intimate and delicate as this? When I was young, this kind of subject was kept under lock and key, hidden under the rug. There was no talk of sex, much less about how often one should or should not reach the apex. But look at how times have changed, and look, I'm glad they changed. Today we can talk openly about these topics without taboo, without shame, but in a respectful way. And believe me, learning about the body never gets old. I know that I've always been a curious person. That's why when I saw this theme appearing so much out there, I thought, why not talk about it? Do people really know how this impacts health? After all, whether you are young or old, sexuality is part of who we are, and the well-being it provides goes beyond any age. Now, before we really get started, let me ask, have you ever stopped to think about the impact of ejaculation on the body? I'm not just talking about the act itself, but what it represents for physical, emotional, and even mental health. Many people only think that this is related to momentary pleasure, but the issue is much deeper. Perhaps you who are listening to or watching me right now are wondering, is ejaculating every day good, or can it in some way harm health? Or even, will it affect me in any way if I stop? Look, these questions are not new, but the answers may surprise. What intrigues me is how this topic arouses so much curiosity and at the same time fear, because let's face it, we've long believed in myths and taboos about the male body and ejaculation. I remember hearing stories when I was younger that if a man wasted sexual energy, he would become weak, lose vitality. It wasn't uncommon to see older men worrying about how often they finished, as if it was something that could be saved for the future. Today we know that the human body is smarter and more resilient than that, but at the same time science is still discovering new things, revealing how this practice, or even the retention of it, can impact different aspects of health. It's not just about pleasure, it's also about longevity, emotional balance, and even disease prevention. So before we go any deeper, I want you to pause and think. What is your relationship with your body? How do you face your sexuality? And more importantly, how do you feel about this topic? Let's try to talk about it without judgment, with an open mind, because if there is something I have learned throughout my 78 years of life, it is that knowledge is liberating. And when we talk about health, including sexual health, it is never too late to learn and improve. Let's talk now about something that may not be discussed often, but that deserves all the attention: prostate health. It may seem like a distant topic to many, but believe me, this small gland plays a crucial role in any man's life. And yes, it is directly linked to our question: can ejaculating frequently positively impact health? You see, science always as curious as I am decided to investigate what happens when a man maintains an active and regular sex life, and to the surprise of many, it turned out that this process is not just a matter of immediate pleasure. It seems that it also helps keep the prostate healthy. But how exactly does it work? Think with me. The prostate is responsible for producing a part of the seminal fluid which protects and transports sperm. When you have a higher frequency of sexual activity or stimulation, this fluid is produced and expelled more regularly. Now imagine if all this was stopped for a long time. There is evidence that this stagnation may not be very healthy. Recent studies have shed light on a fascinating aspect of male sexual Health. The relationship between ejaculation frequency and the risk of prostate problems, including prostate cancer. Research indicates that men who maintain a regular routine of ejaculating more times throughout the month may have additional protection against developing prostate disease. In particular, some studies have revealed that the practice of ejaculating more than 21 times a month is associated with a reduced risk of prostate cancer. The theory behind this is that regular ejaculation helps maintain the flow of fluids within the prostate, which can prevent the buildup of potentially harmful substances. When semen is expelled frequently, it can reduce the risk of inflammation and other conditions that in the long run can contribute to cancer. This protective effect was observed in several analyses, which compared the incidence of prostate cancer among men with different ejaculation frequencies, showing that those with a more active sex life are significantly less likely to develop this disease. In addition, the high frequency of ejaculation is linked to a higher production of antioxidants and other beneficial compounds that can protect prostate cells. These studies offer an interesting insight into how regular sexual activity can not only contribute to pleasure but also serve as a preventative strategy against serious health conditions. Therefore, maintaining a healthy and balanced ejaculation routine can be one of the factors that help preserve prostate health over the years. Of course, it's important not to oversimplify. Health is always multifactorial, that is, it involves a combination of habits such as diet, physical exercise, and even genetics. But this connection between sexual frequency and healthy prostate function certainly gives food for thought, doesn't it? In addition, we know that the feeling of well-being that comes after this sexual release is not only emotional. Ejaculation triggers the release of substances such as prolactin and oxytocin, hormone responsible for providing that feeling of relaxation and tranquility. And let's face it, feeling relaxed and relieved has a direct impact on overall health. The body, after freeing itself from accumulated tensions, tends to function in a more balanced way. If it doesn't stop there, there is another important thing to consider: aging. Over the years, the body changes, and so do hormonal functions. However, maintaining an active sex life can help preserve not only physical health but also vitality. This does not mean that everyone should have an unbridled sex life. The main point is to realize that sexual health is one piece of the larger puzzle that involves all of men's well-being. Now, before you draw conclusions, I want to make something clear: the ideal frequency varies from person to person. What works for one may not work for another. The important thing here is the understanding that keeping the body moving and allowing it to function naturally can bring benefits that go far beyond momentary pleasure. But what if someone chooses not to ejaculate so often? Could this bring problems? Let's see what happens when the body decides to hold on to this sexual energy for longer. First of all, let's better understand what seminal retention means. Basically, it is the practice of avoiding ejaculation during intercourse or even for prolonged periods. Some men do this intentionally, either to conserve physical, mental, or spiritual energy, or even to improve sexual performance in the long term. But is this practice really effective, or are we dealing with another fad? I know this idea may seem Strange to many after all, modern society, with all its emphasis on pleasure and immediate gratification, rarely talks about the potential benefits of not ejaculating. But I'll be honest, this practice has its fervent supporters and defenders. They swear that by holding on to this energy they feel stronger, more focused and even more masculine. Now, let's get to the important questions. What does science say about this? Is there any physiological basis that justifies this practice, or is it just a fad without foundations? The truth is that there is still much to be studied. Reports on the benefits of seminal retention come mostly from personal and anecdotal experiences. Some men claim that they feel more energetic when reducing the frequency of ejaculation. They say they have more mental clarity, less fatigue, and a sex drive that keeps them alert and productive. On the other hand, some doctors argue that retaining semen for too long can cause discomfort, accumulated tensions, and even nocturnal pollution when the body naturally gets rid of excess semen during sleep. This means that for many people the body adjusts on its own, expelling excess when needed, so forcing retention may not be as natural as it seems. There is also the emotional issue. For some, retention can generate a sense of self-control and power. For others, it can turn into frustration, anxiety, and an unnecessary increase in sexual tension. And this is where things get tricky, because at the end of the day the goal is to improve well-being, right? It makes no sense to follow a practice that ends up generating more anxiety than benefits. Still, seminal retention continues to be a phenomenon that intrigues many men. Some seek in their practice a form of detoxification from the social pressures around sexuality. Others believe that this practice can improve their sex life in the long run, allowing them to have more control over their emotions and impulses. Whatever the reason, the important thing is that each man understands his body and knows what works best for him. There is no universal recipe. For some, retention can bring clarity and vigor. For others, the regular practice of ejaculation is what keeps the body and mind balanced. The secret is to know your own limits and not force the body into something that does not align with your physical and emotional well-being. Now that we've talked about both sides of the coin, frequency and retention, it's time to address one of the most complex yet essential aspects of sexual health: the balance between body and mind. This is perhaps the most challenging part of the whole issue, because what works for the body doesn't always line up with what works for the mind, and vice versa. And when we talk about ejaculating, this balance becomes even more subtle. When we talk about sexual health and the frequency of ejaculation, the balance between body and mind is fundamental. Ejaculating regularly can bring benefits such as stress relief, improved prostate health, better sleep quality, strengthening the immune system, and even improved mood. This occurs through the release of hormones such as oxytocin and prolactin, which generate a feeling of relaxation and well-being. However, when it occurs in excess, it can generate physical fatigue, a temporary drop in testosterone levels, as well as emotional exhaustion, affecting mood and even motivation. On the other hand, seminal retention, that is the practice of avoiding ejaculation for longer periods, is also advocated by some as a way to increase physical energy, improve mental focus, and even promote emotional control. However, retaining semen for a long time can cause frustration, tension, and even physical discomfort such as the so-called nocturnal pollutions or pain in the testicles. In summary, both ejaculating frequently and withholding have their benefits and drawbacks. The most important thing is to find what works best for your body and mind. Each person has their own rhythm, and the secret is to respect the body's signals, seeking the ideal balance for satisfactory sexual and emotional health. But now the big question is, what is your experience with this? Have you ever noticed how your body reacts in different situations? Are you curious to understand more about how sexual health can impact your life as a whole? So my dears, here's my advice: live your lives with wisdom, love and respect for yourself. Whatever you decide, do it for you and not because someone said it's right or wrong. That was my learning after so many years, and I hope that in some way it helps you find your own answers. If this conversation has piqued your interest, don't miss the chance to continue exploring this topic. Leave your like to help spread this knowledge, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any new content. Share this video with your friends, especially those who you think can benefit from this important topic. And of course, we really want to know your opinion. What did you think of the video? Leave your comment below and let us know where you are watching us from. And for those who want to go deeper into the topic, don't leave yet a link to our next video will appear on the screen, where you will find out more about how to optimize your sexual health in a simple and natural way. Click on the video and continue this journey with us.